I've got a serious problem. When the bathroom door is left open and the toilet seat is up, my youngest daughter Jenny will run in there and throw an entire roll of toilet paper into the toilet. Every time. She does it so fast, I never see it. I'm tired of fishing it out. Now, I know, the solution is obvious. Shut the door and close the toilet lid. That's what I do. But the other people in the house don't do that. And you can only say something so many times before you realize this is a problem for automation to solve. Home automation. With a Raspberry Pi running Home Assistant. So here's my mission. If they leave the toilet lid up and the door is left open and there's no one in there for 30 seconds, boom, unleash hell. Change every light in my house to red and start flashing. Log into my router, enable a firewall rule that will shut off the internet for everyone except for me, obviously. And then finally turn on every TV and play a pre-recorded message from me telling everyone I'm holding the house for ransom. Hello. This is an urgent message. The bathroom has been compromised. Either the toilet lid is up or the bathroom door is open. Close them now. And until my demands are met, the toilet lid and the bathroom door closed. This will keep looping, but once they do close the lid and the door, we'll put everything back to normal. Problem solved, right? And I'll be able to control this from anywhere for free thanks to our sponsor, TwinGate. I'll show you how to do that here in a bit. Here's our mission checklist. Get your coffee ready. Let's go. So to complete our mission, we'll need two main things. First, we'll need smart stuff. IoT devices that we can control and manage. Things like smart light bulbs, proximity sensors so we can see when people are around, door sensors, smart toilets. I already have a lot of this from various brands. You might too. Now secondly, I'll need a system that can control all of these IoT devices. But it has to be just one system, and that's key. I don't want to use a bunch of different apps and hubs to control all of my various IoT devices. Because like many of you, I don't have just one brand. And all of them have their own way to control their stuff. Nah, I'm not about that. Now for a long time, I used Amazon's Alexa for this. It can connect to a lot of things and it has some basic automation, but I don't like it. Using Alexa, my smart home, just feels kind of dumb. Like I want to go from smart home to smart house. I want to go crazy and take my home automation to the next level. And we'll need to complete this mission we have, Operation Toilet. Also, I'm kind of tired of Jeff Bezos being all up in my business. Amazon Alexa is cloud-based, meaning that Mr. Bezos controls my home, and when the internet's out, so is my home automation. Doesn't sound very smart to me. So, my solution? A Raspberry Pi running the most amazing home automation software I've ever seen, Home Assistant. Now I know some of you probably saw this coming. This isn't new, but it's new to me, and I'm excited. And I've put this off for a while because of my relationship with Alexa. Kind of toxic, but it's time to break up. And if you're like me and you're still in a cloud-based relationship, it's okay. I'm here for you. Let this video be therapy. We'll walk through it together. Now, Home Assistant, why? What is it? Why should you care? First, and this is the biggest thing for me, it's local and private. I'm installing this in my house. Get out of here, Bezos, you can't touch this. You can run it on pretty much anything, including credit card-sized computers. It's also open source and has a thriving community. And let me tell you, this sucker can manage anything. I challenge you to find an IoT device it can't manage. And my favorite thing of all, it can do anything you stinking want. Warning, this is my disclaimer for you. While you can set this up in about 5 minutes, it's kind of a rabbit hole. It's addicting. If you're anything like me, you're gonna sink many, many wonderful hours into this thing. So if your family and friends complain, send them my way. Blame it on me. That's fine. So enough talking about it. Let's get Home Assistant set up right now and start our mission. Now again, you can install Home Assistant anywhere. You can install it on a Docker container or even buy a pre-built system, plug and play. But that's boring and expensive. I'm gonna show you two ways. First, we have the Raspberry Pi and then a virtual machine. Whichever method you choose, please be mindful that you may not have every feature, but going with the VM or Raspberry Pi option will give you pretty much everything. I'm actually setting up 2 Home Assistants, one for my studio and one for my house. Let's start with the Raspberry Pi first. And let's talk about what you need. You can go with 3, 4, or 5. The higher you go, the better the experience. I'm going with 5. And of course, you'll need all the typical Raspberry Pi stuff, a power supply, SD card reader, and an Ethernet cable. You can do Wi-Fi, it's not recommended, so I'm not gonna show you. Optionally, an external SSD or NVMe drive is recommended for longevity, meaning that SD cards may die on you. I'll show you that process here in a bit. You also may want a Zigbee and or a Z-Wave dongle. I really hate saying the word dongle. What is that? We'll talk more about that here in a second. And then of course, something smart to play with. Some sort of IoT device, light bulb, light switch. Most of us have something smart in our homes right now, and odds are Home Assistant can manage it. All right, first thing we'll do is grab our SD card and pop it into our SD card reader, and then plug that into our computer. We'll then use the Raspberry Pi Imager to install Home Assistant on our SD card. You can find this at the link below, or just go to raspberrypi.com/software. We'll launch our software, choose our device. What Pi do you have? I got the Pi 5. We'll scroll down a bit and click on, where'd it go? Oh, other specific purpose OS, and then Home Assistant and Home Automation, and then Home Assistant is right there. Selected one more time, and then we'll choose our storage. Please make sure you pick the right one, and then click on Next, and yes, this is writing the Home Assistant operating system to your SD card. Quick coffee break while that's brewing. And done. Now for the virtual machine, depending on your Type 1 hypervisor, they do have an image for you that will simply download. Now I have Proxmox running on my 45 drives cluster. And while I'm not gonna show you step-by-step how to do this, I do have a link below. It's the guide I'm following right now. But you can watch me speedrun it real quick. Ready, set, go. And now I will start it up. All right, it is ready. Now the cool thing is, whether you're doing the VM install or the Raspberry Pi install, you can probably just go out to homeassistant.local port 8123 to access it. This is through the magic of MDNS or multicast DNS. As long as your network supports it, this will probably work. And fun fact, this is also how it's gonna discover IoT devices on your network here in a minute. So we'll go ahead and go out there. Homeassistant.local port 8123. Do I have it set up on my network? Let me see. Maybe I don't. Oh, I do. Oh, I'm having network issues. Let me fix that. There it goes. Had to change my VLAN. Let's create our smart home now. Smart house. We'll create our first account and password. Create. And here we have the chance to set our home location. You can lie to it if you want, but if you add your address, it'll do some fun stuff for you later. Help us help you? No thanks. And check it out. It's already found some fun things to play with. I told you, Home Assistant connects to everything. They make it pretty easy too. But we're not gonna do anything just yet. Let's click on Finish. And here we are, Home Suite Home Assistant. Now let's get our bearings. The first thing we see is, hey, it's nice and sunny today. This is our main dashboard, the overview dashboard. Usually when you add a new device, it's gonna be plopped right onto here. Speaking of devices, let's add one. To start our journey, we're gonna go down here to Settings. And then we'll click on Devices and Services. Now don't let all the options overwhelm you. We'll take it step by step. Now look at this, we already have some stuff here, but don't get distracted. We're on a mission, remember? Now where we are right now is on a page called Integrations. Integrations are how Home Assistant can connect to other stuff. So for example, behind me, right here, and that lamp is a Philips Hue bulb. I'm not gonna add that bulb directly to Home Assistant. Like I'm not gonna go, here you go Home Assistant, control this. No, not with the Philips Hue bulb. It's really hot. What we'll do is integrate with a Philips Hue hub. And then that will give us access to a bulb, a device. Let's try it out. Now what happened here is awesome. Home Assistant scanned our network and found that we already have Hue running here. How did it do that? Well, as I said before, it'll use things like multicast DNS or MDNS. It'll also use SSDP or the Simple Service Discovery Protocol and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not gonna go into. But enough talking about it. Let's click on Configure. All right, I have to go to my hub and press the magic button. I'll be right back. The magic button has been pressed. And now we're gonna submit. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Connection. Okay, so what's happening here? Success. We love seeing successful messages, don't we? Woohoo! Then it's like, hey, we found a lot of devices here through our integration Philips Hue. And here they all are. Now, just one thing to note. Notice under each device, so I've got Hue Color Lamp, Studio One, these are all bulbs. Notice under each of these, I have an option for an area. An area is gonna be just a room in your house. Could be the living room, bathroom, dining room. And notice it kind of already did some for me. It's actually importing that information from Philips Hue. So it might just auto-create areas for me, which is cool. I also could make it myself right now. So go, hey, there's all the Philips Hue areas. I might add a new area and say, under the bed. Choose an icon, there we go. And click on Add. So we have a lot of devices from Philips Hue. We'll just click on Finish, and suddenly, nothing happened. That's what it seems like anyway, right? But that's because we're still on integrations. Time for our next tab. Let's click over to Devices. It's our integrations that give us access to our devices. Boom, and look at that. We got a lot of stuff here. Now, I like to think of a device as something we can feel, touch, and smell. Like that light bulb I was holding was pretty stinking hot. This is our stuff, our IoT devices. Now, what I wanna do is see if I can find this light behind me. I have no idea what it's called. Oh, I think this might be a Chuck lamp light. We'll click on that and get some more information on our device. Now with the light, you're not gonna see a ton of information except maybe control. Let's try and turn it off. Ready, set. It worked. Let's try it again. Boom. And look at our logbook over here, that's pretty cool. Now if I click on this, do I get more control? Yes, I can do all kinds of stuff. Change the color, let's go blue, red. I mean, you know how IoT lights work, I think. Now let's try another device. Let's go back. Let's look at a motion sensor. So I do have one of those in my Philips Hue system. Here's a Hue outdoor motion sensor. If we click on that, this has a lot more information. We have sensors and motion and temperature, configuration, all of these things that allow you to control it or read information about it. These are called entities. So think about it like this. We add devices to our Home Assistant, but we monitor, manage, and control them through their entities. In fact, if we go back to our main menu here and we stop searching, that's our third little option up here. So we had integrations, devices. Now we have entities. If we click on that, we'll see all of our devices entities. There's a lot of them. And we can filter by device right here. If we click on filters and drop down devices, we can search for one device. So we'll search for that sensor again, sensor. Click that, and there are all the entities that we can monitor and use to control this device. Actually, I think it's mostly monitoring for this one. Now we're getting distracted. Let's get back to our mission. If you look at our checklist, we've done a few things. Well, actually, we've only done one thing. We've added lights. What do you say we get back to our integrations and add our unified network? Because you can do that and it's amazing. This is one of the biggest reasons I fell in love with Home Assistant. It's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. So getting back to integrations at the top here, notice real quick that it already found my UDM Pro device. So that's my Unified Dream Machine Pro. That's my router. But it identified it as a protect device, meaning that's my surveillance system. I'm not gonna add that right now. So to add my unified network, I'll go down to the bottom right here to add integration. It's okay if your stuff wasn't auto-discovered, you can add it manually. Now, prepare for your jaw to drop. Look how many integrations there are. Like, look how small my scroll bar is. I could spend a good amount of time with a bag of chips just going through this list and going, ooh, I can try this. Ooh, I can buy that and try this. So many things it integrates with. But we care about Unify right now. Let's add our network. We'll search for Unify. There it is. Click on that. We'll add a unified network. It's gonna start the wizard because this is magic. We'll connect to our host. I'll put the IP address of my unified network, the login information, and submit. It found everything. I'm not gonna mess with areas right now, I'm just gonna finish. So we added it, again, no fireworks, but if you scroll down a bit, we can see our configured integrations and unified networks right here. Let's go ahead and click on that. It tells us right here we have 11 devices, and we get a nice overview when we click on our integration. So this is like the integration view page. Notice it does show us the number of devices we have and the number of entities total across those devices. Let's take a look at devices real quick. I can see it found my APs, Hogwarts is my Dream Machine Pro. Now check this out. This is what made me go, if I scroll through here, I can see I have my unified network. Now it has two of these. I think this one here that just says the model is unified network. This will show us if I click on this device, it will have entities that are firewall rules. How cool is that? So I have one right here for block Facebook. This is for when my employees get a bit distracted when they're on Facebook. I can just right in here. Bam, firewall rule enabled on my unified network through Home Assistant. This is something we can automate. I'm so excited. And I want to turn that off right now. Bam. So easy. We can check that off our list, add Unify integration. Now to hit home how powerful this is, I'm gonna go back to devices here and search for, well, I don't have to search this all here. Let's go to my switch, the USW24PoE. Look at all the entities it has. Every port. I can see the CPU utilization, memory utilization. And one more thing, if I jump back into our unified network integration, I can configure it and say like, hey, yeah, track my network clients. And I can look here and see every client on here. And I can make it a trackable thing. So there's my Timebeat server, let's track him, submit. And now he should be an entity. Yep, there it is. And I can track things like uptime, but I hope you're starting to see the power. Now there's one very important integration I want to add right now, and it's, I don't know why I made a grunting noise, it's not very heavy. It's this guy. It's a Zigbee Ethernet adapter. I'm adding Zigbee to our Home Assistant. What does that mean? Well, I mentioned earlier that you may want to have a Zigbee adapter for your Home Assistant install, or a dongle, or whatever you want to call it. The Zigbee adapter or dongle will allow you to connect to Zigbee-enabled devices, or capable devices. Now, Zigbee is just one of the ways an IoT device can be managed. Think about the other ones. For a light bulb, we might have Wi-Fi. The light bulb will actually have a network interface card, it'll get an IP address from your router, and you can connect to it over your network. Home Assistant can manage things like that. You also might manage things by Bluetooth. And then of course, Zigbee. Zigbee is a protocol that's perfect for IoT. It's low power, and it usually doesn't involve your devices connecting to the internet. It's a local connection. Now, in order to communicate with Zigbee devices, you need an antenna or dongle that can create a Zigbee network and connect to these Zigbee-enabled devices. You'll actually be creating a mesh network. So if you had multiple devices on your Zigbee network, they can talk to each other and relay messages to your hub. Now, when it comes to Home Assistant, Zigbee will just be another integration, another portal for you to connect to devices on its network. And it's one of my favorites because it is low power, local, mesh, and I usually end up looking for devices that are Zigbee enabled. That's like one of my highest priorities. Now, I know there are other things like Thread and Matter. We're not gonna cover those right now. That's another conversation. But getting back to Zigbee, how you create a Zigbee network can vary. For example, I have this little dongle that I'm gonna plug into my Raspberry Pi for my home. For my studio, I have this device that has an Ethernet port, and I'll simply plug it into my network. It'll actually get power from my switch and just come on. And we'll see if our Home Assistant can discover it like that. Let's try it out. I'll be right back. And that did not take long. It discovered it before I even sat down. So it found two things. It found the device itself, and then it's like, hey, that's a Zigbee device. Let's go ahead and set up a Zigbee network. Let's do both. I'll connect the device first, configure, submit, and that's all I have to do. Done. And now let's configure our Zigbee network. It's gonna be easy. In most cases, if you plug it in via USB or you connect it to your network like I did, it should be automatic. And actually right here, see it's connecting to a socket, a network socket, and that's the IP address that little device got. Click on submit. Data flow control, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it blank. No, I'll do hardware. Hardware sounds better, right? Yeah, let's go with that. And then I'll just create a new network. Erase and create new. Now, if you buy something like the Home Assistant green or yellow, it may already have Zigbee antennas or adapters built in. Oh, cool, it's done. I'll leave it at the default area for now, click on finish. And now what I wanna do real quick is add my first Zigbee device. I'll be right back. I just wanna show you how easy this is. So I bought these light bulbs, they're Singolid light bulbs. Doesn't matter what vendor it is, it just does support Zigbee. So I'm gonna grab my lamp here. Come here, lamp. Plug it in, power it on. Oh, put you over there. And we'll click on our ZHA integration that we just configured. That's our Zigbee network. We'll click on configure, and at the bottom right, I have add device. Let's add device. It's already searching, and it's already configuring. That was quick, and it's done. Call it Temp Studio Lamp. And that's it. We can do a visualization, see our Zigbee stuff, if we had groupings. And now if I go to devices, I can search for that device. Let me clear my filters. Temp, there he is. Turn it off, back on. Does it have color? Oh, it does. Blue, red. It's like, that was so fast. And that's all happening local. Nothing crazy going out to the interwebs. Now real quick, I wanna jump back to our overview dashboard. Because I told you, anything we add is gonna just be dumped there. Let's go check it out. And yeah, look at all this. I have a lot of lights in my studio. There's my guy here. Pew, pew. Now before I continue our mission, I wanna add one more device, one more entity, you. What? Yes, it's gonna be the mobile app. Home Assistant's mobile app is awesome. Like everything you see here in the web UI, this sucker can do. Let's go download it. iOS or Android, they got your back. Just go search for Home Assistant. There it is. Download it, and you'll see what I mean by adding you as a sensor. Check this out. Open, we'll allow it to find anything and everything it wants to. You're having to allow a lot of stuff because you're becoming the sensor, I told you. And now let's find our server. Click on continue, it found it almost immediately. Hit that sucker, get logged in. That same login we configured at the beginning. And Home Assistant, just like that. But now let me show you this. Go to settings, go to devices, and we'll search for my phone name, which is NetworkChuck. There's my phone. And look at all the sensors or entities it has about me. Now some of you may go, oh, keep in mind, this is all local to you. You're tracking yourself. It's not going out to Bezos. Get out of here, Bezos. I know he's getting thirsty. Here's why I love this, okay? All this stuff can be monitored and managed and automated. Distance, connection. One big thing is location. Home Assistant can keep track of your location. And what this means for me in a future project is that I can finally create the Weasley clock for my family. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. You'll see it coming up in a future video, but I'm so excited. But one other thing I want to highlight right now is the other night, we're at our church small group. My wife pulled out her phone to do something and she's like, oh my gosh, I've only got 5% on my phone. I'm like, hun, come on, charge your phone. But then I thought, Home Assistant, I can help her with this. If her phone is in Home Assistant, I can look at her battery level and her charging state, and I can automate some stuff like, hey, if her battery is at 50% or 10%, send me a message so I can go charge it for her. Or do an alert in the house. Like, you can do whatever you want based on this stuff. It's so powerful. But it's only powerful if you're always connected to Home Assistant. So right now, I'm in my studio, but if I get off Wi-Fi, watch the message that happens. Connection lost, reconnecting. Unlike other cloud-based things, then this is a good thing, you can only connect to your Home Assistant on your network. But if you want to access your home automation from anywhere, let me show you how to do that right now with our sponsor, TwinGate. TwinGate allows us to access our stuff in our home, our lab, our work, wherever we go in the most secure way I've ever seen. You're not gonna be exposing anything to the internet. It's all very secure and encrypted. It's also free. And here's all you have to do. And what's funny is you're already gonna have this. In your home, you're gonna add a device known as a TwinGate connector. Now, it doesn't have to be a device. It can be a Docker container, which I have running right now in my studio for my remote employees to access our stuff here. We can also just simply add it to the Raspberry Pi that's got Home Assistant running on it. And with that twin connector running on something inside your network, you'll be able to use any device from your phone to your laptop to your tablet and access your stuff from anywhere. It's like 10-second setup. We'll go to twingate.com. Click on try TwinGate for free, and it will be free. We'll put an email in. I'm gonna use it for home, and we'll get started. I'm gonna use it for my home lab. How did I hear about it? How is NetworkChuck not an option here? We'll just put that. We'll name our network. I'll call mine KeithFam. Choose a sign-in method. I'll sign in with Google, and it's building my network right now. We'll start our setup, and this right here is why TwinGate is so powerful. It's not like a regular VPN where you set it up in your house, and whoever has access to it gets access to everything in your house. No. With TwinGate, I can say my wife can access Home Assistant while she's out, but she can't access my server. You have that fine-grained control. And we do that by creating a resource. So a resource would be one device on your network, or it could be an entire subnet, so every device in your network. That would be the simplest way, but I wanna be extra, so I'm gonna add just one IP address. And I'll just say it's a server, and I'll put its IP address. What was it? 10.7.1.193. This is at my house. Create that resource. So we defined our resource, which I just set up as Home Assistant by specifying my IP address. And now we're gonna connect our network by adding a TwinGate connector inside our network. And this is what allows us to get a secure connection without exposing our network to hackers. You can deploy this in a lot of ways, but we're gonna choose Docker because we're gonna set this up on our Home Assistant device. We'll go down here and click on Generate Tokens. We're gonna authenticate again, and then it's gonna spit out one beautiful command for us down here. Docker run. All we're gonna have to do is copy the command and paste it into Home Assistant. But paste it where? Let me show you real quick. This is actually another really cool feature. Here I'm in the Home Assistant of my house. That's why it looks kind of bare right now. We haven't done anything crazy just yet. From here I'm gonna go to Settings, scroll down a bit, and then we'll see a section called, or an option called Add-ons. I know, there's like endless things with Home Assistant. I'm telling you, it's a rabbit hole, it's addicting. Add-ons allow us to run extra applications next to Home Assistant. We're looking for one in particular, we're gonna jump in there, and we're gonna click on the add-on store. And we're gonna search for Terminal. Oh, there it is right there. Advanced SSH and Web Terminal. Click on that, and then right here in the middle, click on Install. This will give us a nice command line access right here in the GUI. It's installed, we're gonna do one thing. Protection mode, we're gonna disable it. We're gonna be dangerous. And then we're gonna click on Start right here to start this service. Now notice real quick what popped up is a bunch of CPU usage and RAM usage. Every time you add an add-on, it will tax your system just a little bit. If you keep adding a bunch of add-ons, it'll start bogging things down, so be careful. Oh, one thing we want to do is click on Show in Sidebar. Boom, there it is. Let's click on it, Terminal. Oh wait, we forgot one thing. Man, back at our add-on, we need to go up here to Configuration at the top and add in a password. Don't look at mine, just put a password in. Scroll down a little bit and click Save. And now if we go back to our info, we can click on Start once more, and it should start up with no problems. Now we can click on Terminal, and it's right here. Perfect. So now all we have to do is go over here to TwinGate, copy that command, and paste it right in here. Hit Enter. It's gonna pull all the Docker goodness, and then it's done. If we go back to TwinGate, oh, cool. Congratulations, you deployed a connector. So now our connector's inside our network, and it's ready to provide us with remote access wherever we go. Click on Continue, and here we can download the apps that we need. So Windows, Mac, Linux, your phone. I'll go ahead and skip to the console. And let's try it out. I do already have TwinGate installed. Just go to your app store. I'll put in my network name, which was KeithFam. Join network. No, wrong one. KeithFam. There we go. Sign in, we'll log in with Google, and I'm in. I can see the server right there. And notice I'm not on Wi-Fi, I'm on 5G. You can tell by the symbol up there. I can go ahead and open this in my browser. Let me go to port 8123. Cool, it loads in the browser. And then what I wanna do right now is go to my app, because that's all I care about. And I'll go add a server, because I didn't have this server in there. I'm gonna add it manually. And yes, you can manage multiple servers. I'm glad to know. We'll try to connect, get logged in, and we're in. And I can access all my stuff wherever I go, including the terminal. That's pretty cool. So seriously, check out TwinGate. It's what I use for my business to keep my people connected. And my remote editors, they actually remote in and edit off machines using TwinGate. And that's what I use for my family because it's free. So check them out, link below. So now we have our devices added, but now we need to automate some things because this is all about home automation, right? So far, we haven't done much of that. But hold up real quick, I need to add my door sensors. I'll be right back, let me grab them. Okay, I'm gonna try out one contact door sensor. The sensor's basic. Let's add it real quick. It is Zigbee. So we'll go to our devices, go to Zigbee, configure and add a device. It's gonna sit there and wait for me. I'm going to make sure this is in pairing mode. Let's see, should find it here soon. There it is. I love Zigbee. Configuring. All right, check this out. Closed, open, closed, open. Perfect for a toilet lid, right? Yes. Okay, we'll call this contact sensor 1. With that device added, now let's do an automation. So we'll go to our settings. And before where we lived in devices and services for a while, we're now gonna jump to a new section. Automations and scenes. This is a whole world. Let's dive in. From here we have nothing. Let's click on create automation. Create. And we'll do it from scratch because I think we'll learn more from that process. Create a new automation. First we'll define our trigger. When something happens, this happens. I want when this opens, that light to turn on. You know what, let me start with having that light turned off. Just realized that would be boring. Off, there we go. We'll add trigger and we're gonna search for, I think it's gonna be an entity. So when something happens to an entity and we want it to be a state that we're gonna look for, open or closed. So state, let's choose our entity. Search for door, what did I call this? Oh, contact sensor 1, I called it contact. Okay, there it is, contact sensor opening, perfect. And we say we want it going from closed to open. Doesn't matter about the time, we just want it to happen. So if it goes from here to here, it should trigger this automation. Oh, look, it does it for us right there. That's fun. So we got our trigger. Now let's move on to, we don't need and if, that's optional, and that's for more complex things. We'll just say, if this happens, then do this. Let's add an action. And we'll pick device. Let's find our device. It was the Chuck lamplight? Yes. And action will be, let's make it turn on Chuck lamplight. And we'll leave it at that. We're not gonna do anything crazy. And that's our automation. We'll click save, call it lamp on, and that's it. So now, if we open the door, ready? Well, that was anticlimactic. It didn't do it. Did I choose the right? Oh, am I doing that one back there? I'm being so dumb. Let me change the light to, what did I call this? Temp studio lamp. I'm being so dumb. There it is, turn on. Okay, save. Now let's see. Ready, set. We got it. Okay. So it's not gonna do it in reverse because we haven't added that automation yet. Let's add one more. Create automation. Actually, you know what? We'll just duplicate this one. We'll click the little dots on the side and say duplicate. Cool. And now check this out. This is why I love Home Assistant because it's for us, it's for nerds. If I go to the top right, click on dots, I can say, let's go from visual editor to editing in YAML. Oh yeah, look at this. So let's go in here. Let's say it's going from on to off. That's our binary sensor. And then I want, let's see if we can turn the action to turn off and save. Call it lamp off. Okay, hopefully that works. So lamp on and then lamp off. Ah, we got it! So we have two automations. We could have actually combined these automations into one with some advanced stuff, but for simplicity, we did it. Now it's this concept I'm going to use to create our crazy automation to solve our toilet problem, Operation Toilet. And by the way, before we move on, there are other options like scenes, scripts, and blueprints. We're not gonna cover those right now, maybe in future episodes. Let's check in on our mission. I think our next step now is gonna be adding those contact sensors to the toilet and the door and adding that proximity sensor to make sure we can realize and know when someone's in the bathroom. I'm gonna go do that right now. I'll be right back. Now I'm actually gonna use my phone to add these. I'm gonna put the contact sensor on the back of the toilet lid. I'll put the magnet itself on the lid and then the other part, I guess that's what you call it, the other part, on the tank, acting as a door sensor detecting if the lid is open or closed. Except it'll be kind of opposite. When it's closed, it'll actually be open. I'll have to remember that in my brain. And then of course a door sensor to detect when the door is open or closed. Pretty basic. We'll add the sensors there. And the proximity, I'm gonna put it right in front of the toilet. So, I imagine that's where you're gonna be in the bathroom. And because these devices are all Zigbee, I'm gonna add them very simply right now. All right, toilet, door, and proximity sensor installed. Now I wanna do something really fun real quick, and that's add Plex. I told you, Home Assistant can add anything. If you don't know what Plex is, it's Netflix that you host yourself, essentially. I love it, I'm a big fan. So like everything, we'll go to devices and services, go to integrations, add a new integration, and search for Plex. There it is. I'll get a new token from Plex.tv if you have a login. I do. I'll pick my server, and there we go. Plex server added. Now, adding a Plex server introduces some really cool things we can do. For example, playing a video of me saying something as an action. Now let's jump into that integration and see what devices we have. So we have one device, that's the server itself. Let's check out the entities. So here's my individual libraries and the server itself. Isn't that cool though? It also can tell you that there's an update available for your stuff. Oh, it's so neat. Even gives you release notes. Are you kidding me? Now I already added one of my Apple TVs and I just turned it on. I can actually go into the apps and launch an app from here. So I'll launch Plex. Now the reason I'm doing that now is Plex will actually pick up on that client. Look, I can see like who's watching my server. It's so cool. I just pressed this button to scan clients and it found my Apple TV. Cool. It added the client. And now I can control this and actually browse the media on my server and play it remotely. Are you kidding me? Okay, we're at my house and it's time to automate. We'll go to settings, automations, and we'll create a new automation, a blank one. We'll start with toilet detection first. So let's add a trigger. We'll choose an entity and we'll look for state. The entity I want to start with is my proximity sensor. If it goes from detected to clear, this is what's going to kick off my automation. But then here's where the power of this automation comes in with Home Assistant and where I can't really do this with anything else. Let's add some conditions, some and if. Like only continue if this is true. So we'll add a condition here. And I only want this to continue if the toilet lid is up and the door is open. So we'll add those two conditions right now. Entity, state. And actually, you know what? We're gonna delete that because we're gonna do a building block. That way we can say either the lid is up or the door is open. Or I could say both of them have to be true, but I wanna do or. So within this or, I can add more conditions. So I'll do entity, state. We'll choose our toilet lid. We'll choose toilet lid opening as the entity, and the state must be closed, which means it's open. I know, it's weird. And then we'll add one more condition, entity, state, and our entity will be the guest bathroom door, opening. There it is. And state must be open. So here's our logic so far. If there's no proximity detected, and I could say like for a certain amount of time, and I did try that for like roughly 5 seconds, but it took too long because the proximity sensor itself has to have a cooldown time. It'll take a few moments before it actually lets me know there's no motion, so I'm gonna leave it at 0. And then we're checking for conditions. Toilet lid closed, is it closed? Is the door open? If either of those are true, then do something. Now what are we gonna do? We could go through and do all of our crazy stuff. Play a video from Plex, flash the lights, and do that all right here, but I don't wanna do that. Here's what I'm gonna do. So before I do anything, I'm gonna save this. We'll name it OPT, Operation Toilet, and we'll call this detect. We'll describe it. Save. Now I'm gonna go create a device that we haven't talked about yet. We'll go to settings, devices and services, and this guy over here, helpers. Helpers help us, and I'll show you how they will. We're gonna create one, and there's a bunch of different types. The one I care about right now is a toggle. I'll name it OPT, Operation Toilet Switch. Let's give it an icon. Now I do have some testing ones here, but notice when I click on this, it's just a toggle. On, off, on, off. This right here is so powerful because I'll go back to our automation, OPT detect. And all I'm gonna have it do is switch that toggle on. So we'll do add action, and we'll search for input Boolean. There it is. Input Boolean turn on. Boolean means on or off. We'll choose our entity. It's gonna be OPT switch, and that should do it. So now this switch, the OPT switch, will be the trigger for my next automations. And it makes it really easy for me to turn it on and off. So we'll save this. Now we can actually test if our conditions work. If I click on the little menu buttons here and do test, it'll say, oh, right now condition does not pass, meaning the door is closed and the toilet is also closed. I'm gonna go break it real quick. I'm gonna go open it. Oh, cool. Look, it actually just triggered because I just did the motion and then it cleared. So toilet is open. Let me check it out real quick. Test, condition does pass. And if we were to run this automation right now to test it, it should make our switch turn on. There it goes, it's on. Let's turn it off. Now time for the fun stuff. When that switch is turned on, what do I want to happen? Well, everything. Let's create a new automation. This time our trigger will be our Boolean device. We'll do entity and state. We'll choose OPT switch. And if it goes from off to on, this should trigger everything. Now I don't have to worry about any conditions because the switch is controlling everything. Now the first thing I want to do, and this is part of the TV integration, is turn on the TVs. I want to turn them on, and then I want to launch Plex. I do this through my Apple TV integration and my Plex integration. So add an action, I'll choose media player, and we'll do turn on. And I'll choose my entity. And I have my 2 Apple TVs right here, living room, and then I'll choose master bedroom. Perfect, that should turn them on. Now what I want to do is launch Plex, the app on the Apple TV. I won't be able to control Plex unless it's actually launched. Thankfully we can launch it from here. So add one more action, we'll go to media player, and we'll say play a specific piece of media. We'll choose our entities, living room and master bedroom. Our source will simply just be Plex. I want to test this right now. The TV is behind you. I'm gonna set up my iPhone to look at it real quick so you can see it. So I'm gonna run this automation right now to turn it on. Run. TV's turning on. That alone is just magic to me.
Menu, home, button, 1 of 2, switching to HDMI 3.
Now the way my TV did turn on is I'm using...
Menu, HDMI 3.
I'm using...
Dynamic range content is on.
Now the way the TV turns on is through HDMI CEC. The Apple TV, when it turns on, the TV's set to turn on when it comes on, or when it becomes the active source. Now let's see if I can launch Plex. Let's run this automation. Ready, go. Come on. Ah, there it goes. That's so cool. Now we have to play our pre-recorded message. I do already have that message loaded up in Plex. Now I just have to specify that source, that video file, and we want to have it loop. Now this was a bit tricky. It took me a minute to figure out, but this is also where This is crazy powerful. So right now we're gonna add a building block and we're gonna choose run and parallel. We'll be able to add actions that run parallel to each other. And then I'll add one more building block inside that building block called repeat. This is gonna repeat while our switch is turned on, OPT switch, the one that was turned on by our lid and door being open. So add the condition, we'll choose our entity, state. As long as this is on, it will do the following actions. So let's add some actions. First, we'll mess with our TV here, the Apple TV in my master bedroom. We'll go to media player. We'll say start playing a specific media. We'll choose our entity. Now the entity for this will be the specific Plex app on that TV, which will be this one right here. I've already named it. And then the content ID. We should be able to just start typing in stuff. Let me just kind of get out of it there. I type in, oh yeah, there we go. If we start typing in something, it should just give us the option to go find it. So I'm gonna click this to find my media. Cool. It connects right to my Plex library, so I can go find my files. So I put it, I believe it's here. Yeah, there it is. Alert toilet. So it should play that. What do you say we test it right now? Ready, set, go.
Hello. This is
Got it. Now I'll add the other TV right now. And actually I'll just duplicate this and then just change the device to the living room, Plex. Now there's one thing that tripped me up for a second, and that's when I would run this. Watch, actually, let's do it right now. So I'm gonna disable the one downstairs because the kids are watching TV and they'll kill me. So I'm gonna save this automation before I forget. We'll call this OPT run. This automation runs Operation Toilet when the OPT switch is on. I'm gonna make sure this is disabled, the whole thing, so nothing crazy happens. I want to control things and test it real quick. I want to go find my switch and turn it on. Okay, it's already on. We'll get back to our automation and let's see if this parallel action will run. And it shouldn't. I'll show you what the issue is. I'll run it right now. It's going to try and play the media, but then it's going to keep trying to play it over and over and over, and it never actually plays. It'll error out. So the way to fix that is to add one more action, and we're going to search for a trigger action. Wait for trigger. And this is so cool. Check this out. The trigger I'm going to add will be for this Plex instance on this Apple TV. So I'm going to search for entity and state. We're gonna pull up Plex, master bedroom, and we're looking for it to go from any state to idle. And notice we can like do things based off pause, standby, playing. So what I want to do is go from any state to idle. And once it's idle, then I can keep going and loop. So that's how the loop's gonna work. It's gonna play the media, it's gonna wait for it to become idle, and then loop it again. So now with that in place, let's test it again. I'm gonna turn back on OPT switch, and we'll test this parallel action.
Hello.
Like a charm. Let's see if it plays twice.
Close them now. Hello.
And there it goes. Now if you want to get a bit nerdy, there's a fun way to see this happening. If you go to developer tools right here in your menu and go to states, we can search for Plex. And right now I can see all my Plex media players. And when I run that one more time, let's run our actions in parallel. Watch, I'll see it come up and see it playing. And everything about that file, media content ID, content type, the name of it, then it should stop playing and then replay again. So now if you ever have trouble finding a content ID for your content, if that little menu doesn't work, you can always go this route. Now I'm gonna try doing both real quick, both systems. So I'm gonna enable this. I'm really gonna make my kids mad. Oh wait, I just ran it. Is it playing? No, probably because Plex isn't up. I'm gonna add one more trigger it has to wait for, and that's for the other Apple TV, the other Plex. All right, let's test it out on both TVs. I'm gonna run these two actions in parallel.
Hello.
Playing here.
This is an urgent message. The bathroom has been compromised.
I need to take over the TV. That's why it wasn't working. So I need to launch Plex on the TVs and now run it. It's playing on both now. And then it should loop on both. It's gonna wait for both to become idle.
Hello. This is an
playing on both. Perfect. Now it's time for the lights. First, I'll turn a bunch of lights red. So I'm gonna add a singular action that's outside of my parallel building block. I'll search for light. I'm gonna turn on the lights. I'm gonna choose my entity, and I have an entity called Master Lights. It's this room I'm in right now. I'm gonna change the color to red and full brightness. That's gonna happen right after we turn the TVs on. And then in the parallel action, we're gonna add a building block, a repeat. That's doing the same thing as our TVs. We'll look at our entity, OPT switch, make sure he is on, and then we're gonna add light, turn on, choosing our entity, and this time we're gonna go to advanced options and have it flash. We'll do a short flash. And then we'll add one more action, we'll add a wait action. Simple wait for time. We'll wait 2 seconds. There was an issue where it kept trying to initiate the flash. It didn't give it time to finish the flash. So you have to add some time there to wait, similar to our Plex, waiting for the idle trigger. So now let me enable our switch and test this out. I'm gonna rename this so I can know what it's doing. So I'm gonna turn the lights red with this action here. Go. Bam, you should see that light turn red behind me. And now we're gonna do the flashing red action as long as these switches on. Boom. And all the lights are kind of just flashing like a siren. And when I turn this off, it should stop flashing. And then we have one more thing we want to do, and that's turn off the internet. And here's how I'm going to do this. Here in my unified network, I'm going to go to settings and security. And here I already have a firewall rule called Operation Toilet. This firewall rule is set to select certain phones, even has my phone in here, and it's going to block the internet when enabled. Right now, it's disabled. But this will be a simple Boolean switch inside of Home Assistant that I can turn on. So right here is an action. I'm gonna search for a switch, turn on a switch, and that entity will be Operation Toilet, Unify Network Operation Toilet. That's gonna enable that firewall rule. I'm gonna put that up here with my lights right before the parallel actions, because this will just keep running. It won't move beyond that. So real quick, if I refresh this page, you can see that the firewall rule is off. If I run this action real quick, run, and I refresh this page, the rule is on. I'm gonna go turn it off real quick. There we go, firewall rule off. Such a fun way to turn on and off firewall rules, man. So now this entire thing is perfect. It meets everything we tried to do. So I'm gonna save this. And actually there's one more action we didn't do. We gotta return things back to normal. We need to detect a normal state. So here we'll create a new automation, and I'll say my trigger, it'll be an entity. Let's search for our good old toilet lid. And if it goes from closed to open, I want this to trigger. And we'll add one more trigger. Same kind of thing, entity and state, and we'll look at our door. Guest bathroom door opening. When it goes from open to closed, this thing will be triggered by either of these actions, because there could be a situation where the toilet lid is open, the door is closed, or the toilet lid is closed and the door is open. I want either of those actions to trigger this. Then let's add our conditions. I only want this to continue if the toilet lid is currently open and the guest bathroom door is closed. Also, I only want it to continue if the switch is currently on. If it's off, I don't want it to do anything. Just kind of a check for our automation. So it'll make sure and continue only if the lid is open, which means our lid is closed, the door is closed, and the switch is currently on. Then we can return our house to normal with these actions. Now the only action I want to do here is to turn off the switch. So we'll do input boolean turn off. We'll choose our entity, OPT switch, and it should turn it off. So we'll save this and name it OPT detect off. Now I know I could probably combine the detecting of the on and off in one automation, and I probably will do that eventually, but I wanted to show the simplicity of this and the complexity. So now we'll add one last automation that'll return our house to normal. Create a new automation. The trigger will simply be the switch. If the switch goes from on to off, then we'll return our house back to normal. We'll use a switch to turn the internet back on by turning the firewall rule off. Perfect. We'll turn our Apple TVs off. And then we'll turn our lights back to a nice color and a normal brightness. I actually add one more action. I'll do a wait action, about 10 seconds, and put it at the top. In case a video is already playing, I don't want to interrupt it. And that should be it. We'll save this. OPT, return to normal. Turns everything to normal when OPT switch activates. Or no, is turned off. All right, let's save this. Excellent. Now, can I show you something really cool? If I go into, let's go into our main one, OPT run. You can actually go to the top and click on traces. Oh, we haven't run this yet. Let's run it. So I'm gonna enable this, OPT run. So now all our OPTs are operational. All right, let's turn the switch on now.
Hello, this is an urgent message. The bathroom has been
And it's running. Now let's turn it off. The lights stop blinking. It should stop playing now. It's powering off, and the internet should be back up. Awesome. So we did it. The automation is set. Now, hopefully, finally, the toilet lid will be closed, the door will be closed, and I won't have to fish out another roll of toilet paper. I know it was kind of a niche problem. I mean, it 100% is a niche problem for me, but what I wanted to show off is the power of Home Assistant and what you can do. The automations, it's just your imagination. Like, you can do whatever you want. I would love to hear what you've done. Let me know in the comments below. This is the first in a series I'm doing on home automation. Kids are crying. That means I gotta go. See ya.